All right, Pickle. There are only a mere, just a paltry 655 Texas high school football games this weekend. It's the lowest number yet.
Yes.
What's happening? Line up the phone lines. 888-787-DCTF. Give us a call. That's not our number. I don't know what number that is.
That number.
I don't know. Do not call that number.
It'll be like bail bonds or something.
Anyway. Part of it, a big reason why, is that there's a lot of bye weeks. This is the first of two really big bye weeks.
This one in week 6.
This and week 4 and week 6 are the open dates. And it's actually, if you want the really boring explanation, if you take a look at the way that districts tend to be laid out, the most common district sizes are 8 and 6.
Yes.
So a lot of the 8-team districts are off this week.
Yes, because then they'll begin.
Start district play next week, and a lot of the 6-team districts are off in week 6. So that's why. That's if you're wondering, it's actually not that complicated. But anyway,
for once, there's something that's not that complicated to understand.
But anyway, with 655 Texas high school football games scattered hither and scattered yon, it feels like it's we could do people a favor and let them know which are the 10 biggest games across the state of Texas. And so without further ado, let's roll it out. The top 10 Texas high school football games of the week. We'll start with the big one in the middle. There it is. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Gobbler Stadium in Cuero. The unbeaten number 4 ranked Cuero Gobblers will take on the unbeaten number 4 ranked Corpus Christi Callan Wildcats, both in 4A. It's a very, 4's wild here.
Yes.
We cover this in the picks video coming up here in a moment, but this is a fascinating matchup that is almost entirely based upon who dictates the pace of this game. If Calallen can get this game into the mud, they can win. They can absolutely win this game. If Cuero can get this into a track meet, they can absolutely win this game as well. I'm interested to see how the Cuero defense, which has been very good so far, handles this big physical rushing attack for Calallen. Of course, Steve Campbell, two new coaches, Steve Campbell versus Jared Feacoch. There, very interesting matchup there of coaches alone. Calallen and Cuero there in the middle. Let's bounce up to the top left-hand part of your screen. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Brock, Texas, as the winless Brock Eagles take on the number 1 Gunner Tigers. Here's what's interesting about this. I don't know if you know this. Okay. According to the DCTF computer, this is number 1 versus number 1.
Yeah.
This is number 1 in 3A Division 2 versus number 1 in 3A Division 1. Despite being 0-3, the computer still believes that Brock's the best team in 3A Division 1.
Yeah, this whole time that we've looked at the Brock schedule, I think I've been very vocal about that. 1, I think Brock is the best 0-3 team in the state. But 2, I think that this game will prove that to be correct or not, because Gunner is an unbelievably good team, but just sheer classification size alone, there is a big gap. And this is one that, regardless of how good Gunner is, Brock should go out there and beat them if they want to convince us that they have the best chance to make it through Region 3.
Yeah, I think this is finally Brock plays somebody their own size that they're actually bigger than, but they happen to be playing one of the very best teams.
But we also just don't know a whole. I mean, we think Gunner's going to be great. We have no reason not to think Gunner's going to be great. But they have played 2 different private schools that are just, to be honest, not mean, but just nowhere close to their weight class.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's not that to me. That's not necessarily being rude. That's just being honest, which is that they were a lot better than the 2 private school teams that they played. I don't think that's a knock. I think that's just reality. And so that's kind of a real question in this one: is what happens when Brock plays a team that is in their weight class. Right. By the way, if you were interested, the computer, the best 0-3 teams in the state: Brock, South Oak Cliff, San Antonio Cornerstone in the private school ranks, East Bernard, Ennis, Jim Ned, Euless Trinity, Marlin, and then Cedar Hill. Those are the best 0-3 teams in the state. So, if you were interested, I know you were.
East Bernard is still the one that shocks me that they're 0-3, but they've been playing a tough schedule.
They've been playing a tough schedule, and I also have questions about their defense. But that's neither here nor there. 7 o'clock Friday night in Albany. How about a top 2 matchup in 2A? As the number 1 team in 2A Division 2, the Albany Lions welcoming the number 2 team in 2A Division 1, the Hawley Bearcats, in a slobber knocker. A real just rock fight, to borrow a phrase from Craigway. 2 teams hurling boulders at one another. I think that we'll talk about this again in the picks video, but what Hawley has done this year so far, I think, is probably should be much more high profile. Mm-hmm. They've only given up 19 points this season, 12 of them last week to Eastland. They have mowed past people, but Hawley also, their opponents, they're 3-0. Mm-hmm. Their opponents are combined 0-9. So what do we really know? Taking on an Albany team that's 3-0 to start the year. They have been terrific. Their offense has been humming. Running game has been terrific. The big question is, can Albany run on a team that's bigger than them? That's like my whole question.
Yeah, it all comes down to Hawley in the trenches for me.
If Albany can run the ball on Hawley, they've got a great chance to win. I like Caleb Chapman, their quarterback, but they're a team that needs to run the ball to be effective. So very intrigued by that game in Albany. 7 o'clock Friday night in Denton, a top 20 matchup in 6A in a thin big school week. Mm-hmm. This is probably the showcase matchup. This or one other that we'll get to in a moment.
Which got even more interesting after Prosper took it to Rockwall
last
week.
Actually, that's probably it's Prosper taking on Denton Geyer, and that's probably the reason we're talking about this game. Mm-hmm. That the way that Prosper's defense shut down Rockwall was deeply impressive, very impressive. Now they level up,
right?
And now they face an even better offense.
In their own district,
in their own district, in a district opener. This is a fascinating matchup. The real showcase matchup here is going to be the Prosper defense against the Geyer offense. That's the real showcase matchup here. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Prosper's offense is really going to have to get going, though, because they only had, 19 points last week?
Yeah,
you're not going to win a shootout against Geyer.
No, you're not. You will
regardless
not,
of how well.
If they score 19 points this week, they will lose.
Yes,
and that's with a really good defense.
Yes.
7:30 p.m. Friday night in Anna. How about this? Who would have thought we'd be talking about Anna, Texas?
Yeah.
The number 6 ranked Anna Coyotes welcome in the number 3 ranked Salina Bobcats in what Matt Stepp on Tep and Step said might be the biggest game to ever roll through Anna, Texas.
Yeah, honestly.
Because guys, go look at the history of Anna football. It has not been particularly sparkling. Salina, on the other hand, has plenty of firepower and plenty of pedigree. Fascinating matchup here. Is Anna for real? Like this is the real test. They win this game and there's no doubt. Right. They win this game and there's no doubt. Salina, a certified contender there in 4A Division I, has looked the part. I think their offense has been particularly impressive. I'm going to have all eyes on this one Friday night. Their offense has been rolling to start the year, including. But again, a lot of go back to this. Who have they beaten? Right? They beat Paris at Paris to open the year. That's great, but Paris is now 0-3.
Right.
Okay. And it's 2 private schools. Bishop Lynch, who is not what they used to be. Bishop Lynch used to be a power in the DFW Metroplex, not anymore. And then Houston Legacy. Like, they haven't played. Like, you could say, who have they played? Paul.
Right.
We don't know. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Centerville. The Centerville Tigers welcome in the Mart Panthers in a game that I think is flying under the radar a little bit. This Mart team is humming right now. They have been terrific to start the year, 3-0. But again, they've been punching up weight classes, but they're playing relatively poor teams. Their opponents are combined 1-8 this year to start the year. This is their biggest test to date by a factor of about 10. Taking on the Centerville team, who does have a loss, but it's to unbeaten and state rank. I want to say number 2, Crawford, maybe 3, top 5. I know they're top 5, but this is a Crawford team that obviously you don't take a whole lot from that. The biggest question for me is where is this Centerville defense? Because they give up 21 to Crawford, okay, state ranked team, but then last week against Tig, they give up 29. Not loving that. Can this defense get back on track against an explosive Mart squad? And can Mart match up front against a real grinding offense from Centerville with what's that?
Crawford is 3.
Yeah, Crawford's
Timpson
3.
and Hawley.
Going up against Paxton Hancock in the Centerville team. Fascinated by this matchup there in the Central Texas area. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Lufkin, the number 1 team in the state in 5A Division I. The Longview Lobos get on the road and go to Lufkin to take on again the Lufkin Panthers in a game that, much like the Prosper game,
suddenly got interesting.
Got very interesting last week when Lufkin really dominated A&M Consolidated. That was a resounding, impressive victory there for A&M.
We looked at our computers and went, "Oh,
that's got to be flipped."
Yeah.
Is what we thought. But very impressive. Longview's the favorite on paper. Longview looks every bit the part of a state championship contender. The offense is rolling right now. They've been doing anything that they want. You're talking about quarterback Jordan Allen, things really stepped up. Of course, they have Jalen Hale, Taylor Tatum running the ball, defense flying around. But there's a Lufkin team with T.J. Hammond and Kedron Young. Keep an eye on them. Furthermore, big rivalry game, and Longview in Lufkin is always an issue.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough road trip, and it's a district opener, too. A lot on the line in that one. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Newton. West Orange Stark, coming off of their first loss of the year to Port Neches Groves, goes on the road to take on the Newton Eagles. Why did I say Wildcats? Newton Eagles.
I don't know.
The Newton Eagles. Speed in this game. This is pure, unadulterated, uncut, just like Southeast Texas dudes going at it. For me, the real showcase matchup in this one is going to be the Newton offense going up against the West Orange Shark defense. The Newton offense has been mostly good. I thought that last week this is another game that last week, because when Newton beat Jasper, that really caught my eye because I was a little worried about them when they dropped that second game to Woodville. Going up against West Orange Stark, no real questions about the defense, but can that offense continue to grow? That's the real question for Hiawatha Hickman and the Mustangs. So that is 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Newton. What about 7:30 p.m. Friday night in Waco as the Connolly Cadets, fresh off a thrilling last-minute win over Cameron Yo, welcome in the number 2 team in 4A Division 1, the defending 4A Division 2 state champion, China Spring Cougars. No notes for China Spring. They have been exceptional all year long. The new quarterback, Cash McCollum, has really stepped in. The offense does not look like it has skipped a beat. The defense, I think, there's not a lot to glean from last week's win over Mejia. They were just much better than Mejia and bigger than Mejia. The defense, I have some questions about. Here's an opportunity to prove it because this Waco Connolly offense can fly. Kobe Black and company have been terrific. What exactly does that look like there for Connolly, who is a little wounded coming into this game? Can they kind of hold up against the defending state champ, China Spring, and Connolly makes the top 10? As does our final game. Big week in the 6-man ranks. 7:30 p.m. Friday night in May. It's a top 4 showdown in 1A Division 1 as the number 3 May Tigers welcome the number 4 Garden City Bearcats. Garden City, we've talked a lot about May, but Garden City is a team that may have been flying under your radar just a little bit. They had that week 1 win over Valley in the Jayton Jaybird Classic. Since then, they've kind of played teams that they're a lot better than. They get a 1-2 punch right now. These next 2 weeks, we'll find out everything we need to know about where Garden City stacks up because they play at May and at Westbrook.
Yeah.
So we will find out. So by the way, don't yell at me when Garden City is on the graphic again next week.
Right.
Because they're playing Westbrook.
Yeah, and that's a district game too.
Yeah, and by the way, it's kind of gearing them up. Or no, it's not a district game. But it's gearing them up for when they get into district. Because remember, when they get into district, they got to play Borden County and they got to play Rankin, and they got to play both those teams on the road. One of those 3 teams, Borden County, Rankin, and Garden City, one of those teams is going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, which was 4, 5, and 6 in the rankings.
Mm-hmm. So, a lot to learn from that one. How do they match up against May, a certified state championship contender who I think has certainly played a tougher schedule with wins over Jayton, Knox City, and then a 1-point state-ranked Austin St. Stephen's squad in the private school ranks. So, there you have it, your top 10 games of the week for week 4.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.